Namaste children, how are you all? Today we are going to start report writing. We learn how to write reports for newspapers or for school magazines. Now let me tell you what a report is. It is a factual description or an account of an event or incident. It can also be an objective analysis of an incident. Before we learn how to write a report, let me tell you a few points that you need to keep in mind. Now, first of all, let us talk about the kinds of reports that we write. Reports can be written for events or functions. I've already told you we write reports either for school or college magazines or for newspapers. Now, the first kind of reports are based on events and functions. Now, if you are writing a report for school or college magazine, make sure you write heading and write the byline. That means you need to mention the name of the reporter, the one who's writing the report. Now, when we write the same report for a newspaper, along with the heading and the byline, we must mention place and date. Now let's see what points are to be kept in mind when we write the main body of the report. After writing the heading and the byline, we have to keep these points in mind. First is name and nature of the event. What kind of event it is. Whether you are writing about a sports meet, about a function, a camp, an act of social service, a competition, it can be anything. So, we begin with the name and nature of the event. Though we've already mentioned the name of the event in the heading, like blood donation camp organized in PQR society. Then occasion. We mentioned that this event or this competition was organized on such and such date, time and place. All these things are mentioned. Then we tell who the dignitaries were. We mention the name and the designation of the chief guest, the guest of honor, or any other special guest. After writing that, we mention the highlights. What all happened there? That has to be mentioned. Like the dignitaries were welcomed, the program started with the lighting of the lamp, followed by a welcome song by a choir group. Then dance presentation, play, prize distribution, whatever. These are just hints. You need to mention whatever was done there. After that, we come to the speech by the chief guest, the guest of honor, or the special guest there. And the highlights of his or her speech are to be mentioned. Then we move on to the vote of thanks. Who extended the vote of thanks is to be mentioned, and it is followed by a comment on the quality of the program and the benefit of organizing such events. You may say that, suppose we are writing a report about a report on painting competition. So you can mention that the competition was very well organized and that the children who participated will definitely be benefited. In the end, you may write the writer's contribution or participation in this particular event. Now let us learn how to write reports on accidents. Since most of the reports on accidents are published in newspapers, so you need to follow that format. We start with heading, followed by the byline, that is the name of the person reporting about the incident or the accident. Then we mention the place and the date. For example, like you say Karnal, this and this date. After that, in the first paragraph, we start mentioning what happened, when, where and how. These points are very important, so you must keep in mind. We start with the incident that has taken place, when, where and why. You have to mention why it happened, the reason behind the accident. Then we mention the number of people and the vehicles involved, also adding how many people have suffered, like loss of life and property is to be clarified in this. Then we move on to the details of rescue and relief operations. For example, you can write that the passers-by stopped, someone called up the ambulance and the others helped in transferring the injured people to the nearest hospital. Then we need to give the details of the people injured, their name, their gender and from where they belong, how severely they have been injured, the injuries suffered by them. After that, in the next paragraph, we need to mention that the government has passed an order of inquiry or investigation to find out the culprit, as well as the reason behind this accident. And then we may write that an FIR has been registered against the guilty driver. Then we come to the grant that is given to the family of the deceased and the injured people. The government promises a lump sum of some amount. Some amount is given by the government to the injured and the families of the deceased in order to extend a helping hand. We end the report with the punch that includes a warning, reminder or recommendation of what is required urgently. Each and every accident gives us a lesson. We learn a lesson that the accidents take place because of the negligence of the people involved or maybe someone else's mistake. So we end with the conclusion that we need to follow traffic rules in order to avoid accidents in future. I am sure that after watching this video lecture, you will be able to write reports on your own. And that's all for today. Thank you.